Hi everyone, my name is Santosh Kumar. So in this video, I'm going to discuss how to write a research proposal for PhD entrance exam. This will be also helpful in if you are a researcher and you don't know how to design a research proposal. So be with this video and I'm sure it will be helpful for you. So without any further ado, I will start. I'm doing PhD at the Center for Study of Social System. You must be knowing that this center is popularly known as the Center of Sociology. So what do you know about the research proposal? Have you this? One more thing, the prerequisite for writing a research proposal is that you must have completed your master. So you know when it comes to research proposal, uh, there are different heads within it, and you should not miss any of it. So when you say research proposal, it actually entails titles. You have to write introduction. You should know what are the sociological relevance of your topic, why you want to do research on this particular topic, and then you should be well familiar with literature in this particular area. And this is very important because it actually succinctly summarize what are the research you are going to conduct in the future. And these are the when the examiner will go through your research proposal, they will be focusing on particularly these three things. So they will be reading your research objectives, research questions, and all these heads should be in coherence. So whatever writing in introduction, it should follow in sociological relevance, and it should follow in literature review. And when you're writing two, three research questions, first question should follow another question, and then so you should well thought, your idea should be very coherent, and that's how you have to write a research proposal. Just wait for some time. I will be discussing briefly all these different heads. What is the theoretical framework you should also know. And very important, when you are writing a research proposal, you should be familiar with methods. Usually when it comes to research, uh, because after the arrival of science, we usually rely on site. Site basically means from where you will be collecting data. So to write a research proposal, you should be well familiar with your site, your field, from where you will be conducting or collecting your data. So, to write a research proposal, I will suggest first try to figure out whom you will be studying, because you are studying sociology. So the main, the purpose of sociology is to understand human relation. So you should know, where you will be studying, whom you will be studying, and what kind of groups you will be studying. So all these things first you should be clear in your mind. Then writing a research proposal will be quite easy. You should then if you know what is the theoretical framework, if you know what is the method, then it will be easy for you to write techniques and tools of data collection. So, and the final thing will be bibliography and references. So this is like, you are giving a proposal. Of course, it's not a final, it's not fixed. After your selection in PhD, or if you're writing a proposal for independent research, this is going to change because, your supervisor, your boss, they will give you inputs. And usually when you get selected, you are not aware with whom you will be working. So, after knowing that, you are working with that professor will give you inputs. And after incorporating inputs, or sometimes even completely, your research proposal will change. So right now, you probably are writing this research proposal for your entrance exam, but they will be carefully examining either you know how to write research proposal or not. So you have to be very careful, and that's how you have to write your research proposal. So when you submit your research proposal, the most important thing is title. because all the panel members, usually when you go for the viva, there will be at least 4 to 5 professors sitting, and they all will have your research proposal in their hand. So you should be aware that everybody, at least they will read your title, and titles should be so clear and crisp that it itself communicate what will be your research. So usually title is very important, because each and every examiner, at least they will read your title. So don't do any grammatical mistake. Don't try to unnecessarily include sociological jargons. If you think that these concepts are not relevant for your research, please do not include in your title. Introduction, this is again it's like you are setting the context. You are basically giving a general outlook. You are trying to introduce your research proposal, so it should be attractive enough. Whoever is reading, they should feel compelled to read your whole research proposal. So to write introduction, there are different ways. One way is like I already told you that you should set a context. So what compelled you to do research on this particular topic, you should be writing in the introduction. And why do you think your research should be done right now at this moment of time? You can include in introduction. You can give some historical background in your introduction. And if you are doing a quantitative research, you should include data, because data gives very direct justification that why you are doing this kind of research. So data you can introduce by giving the data, you can introduce by giving the social context, or you can introduce your research by maybe introducing a very dominant concept, and then you can say that this concepts does not help us understanding social groups. So I feel like there should be some changes. That's how so another way to introduce is to define your research area or your research concepts. And after defining, you can point out that this definition is not complete, it's not comprehensive. So you are going to do research, and you will be bringing out, or you will be modifying or problematizing that particular concepts. So these are the important things you should. And the next important thing is sociological relevance. You should be knowing that why you are doing this particular research in sociology. So you should at least give 4 to 5 lines the sociological relevance related to your topic. Don't worry, right now I'm just giving you the general overview. I will be doing the practice by reading the research proposal. It's not exactly the research proposal, but it will be like dissertation, and I will be reading the abstract. So after reading the abstract, I will be pointing out each and everything. You can yourself figure out how you can write a good research proposal. So moving further ahead, uh, so when it comes to research, and I think all social science and even science also, you must be familiar what is research. So when you say research, it basically you should know how to ask a question. Okay, so this is all about asking a question. And then so let me give you some understanding. And if you're a student of sociology, these are the very founding figure. So you must be familiar with their concepts. So for example, when we talk about Karl Marx, so he has given the concept of class. And we know that when he defined class in a simple sense, we all of us know that he talked about haves and haves not. So here what you see, in some sense, it represents a binary. So you should be knowing that when it comes to sociology and or any science, this is very basic, you must be aware. So you always try to understand anything on these two axes. One is time and another is space. When it comes to sociology, we are obsessed with the history. So you have to basically give the that you have to either trace the his genesis, or you have to give the historical context. So history is very important. when it comes to like Karl Marx, you must be aware, he talks about historical materialism. So he has traced how materiality evolves with the time. Okay, so in some sense, he is giving some comparative understanding in context of time. Okay, so he is extensively utilizing this access. You must be knowing Max Weber, the very famous book that is Protestant Ethics and a Spirit of Capitalism. So here what you see, there are two systems. One is Protestant ethic and another is a spirit of capitalism. So, he's talking about capitalism and he's talking about religion, and he's trying to find out relationship between these two systems. Okay, so this is also important when you're doing research in sociology. You have to basically reflect on the relationship between two things. So here you are aware with Max Weber, and you know that he talks about Protestant ethics, that is basically the relationship between religion and here capitalism. So, he is saying that you can construct ideal types and then you can find the correlation. So, he has talked about co-constitution. He has talked about how, religion and economy basically, were co-constituted. So, that's how here also what you see, there are two things. In some sense, he's trying to find the relationship between two things. Okay, so research is all about you identify if you go by all these founding figures, so you should also identify two things and try to give try to understand what can be the relationship between these two things. Even if you talk about Emile Durkheim, so we all know that he wrote Totemism, the elementary form of religious life. So in that book itself, he wanted to understand religion, but what he did, he basically said that we can go to the primitive society and there we can understand religion, and then we can automatically able to understand how religion is basically there in the modern society. So here also what you see, for him also time is very important. Okay, so and even if you take the another example like division of labor, so when he was studying division of labor, there also what he did, he basically talked about two extreme society. One is primitive society, where he presumed that it is very low division of labor, it's very simple. People are having unity on the basis of similarity. But when you talk about industrial modern society, there you find high division of labor. The division of labor is very specialized, like we are sociologists, so we need to be dependent on doctors when it comes to health and medicine. So we are we have unity, or we are having solidarity on the basis of interdependence rather than saying similarity. So, here also what you see, he has basically gone to two different society in two different time, and he's trying to find the relationship between these two. So, when it comes to finding out a research proposal and especially the statement of problem, so you should be able to give, what will be the two things or three things on where you will be trying to find a relationship between these three system or two system. So you should be aware, that's what it's known as a research gap. So you are, in some sense, you are trying to find a connection. So these gaps you will be trying to fill in some sense. Okay, so that's how the best way to write a research proposal, I will suggest, you should read different dissertation. It's easily available on Sodh Ganga. Just try to find out all the heading which I have already given you, like title, introduction, sociological relevance, literature review, statements of problem, research objectives, research questions. So every headings you will be able to find in already submitted dissertation, and that will give you very good idea how you can also write it. Okay, so it's always you should first read, and while reading you should be able to figure out what you will be writing for yourself. Okay, this is also very important because you can say this is the backbone of your research proposal. they and there should be very strong connection. It's simply like, sometimes they say the objectives, you should know the objectives, what will be your goal and how you will achieve that objective. So basically by asking the research questions. Okay, so this I have already told you. And don't try to include anything which you feel you're just including for the sake of including, because sometimes we think that if we will write a jargons, it will give some extra s that basically, when you will be sitting in the viva, when they will be reading the research objectives and question, it will be unnecessarily trouble for you. So you should be very careful. Try to use as simple as the language should be very simple, and you know only include concepts when you feel like this concept will be very important for your research. Now the next comes to methodology, and the methodology is very important because I have already pointed out, when you're writing a research proposal, you should have in mind what will be your site. And site here means, you can also say field. So you should know from where you will be collecting data. Another sense, what is a sociological research? Basically, you try to find out a, a group of individual, or you can say a community, or you can say a society, basically the individuals, and you try to understand them, how they behave. If you want to understand their culture, if you want to understand their economic behavior, if you want to understand, so what you do, you go to them, you talk to them. Either you can do ethnography, you can do in-depth interview. So already I have made a video, and that is available on YouTube, that is ethnography, history and trends. You can watch. If you are intended to use ethnography as a research method, you can watch this video. It will give you some inputs. I'm not saying this will be like enough. It will just give you a direction, and further you should read. So this. And then when I have discussed that research objectives and research questions are important. So let's say you are writing 3 research objectives and 3 research questions. So each and every research questions, you should able to tell that how you will be collecting data for these particular research objectives and research questions. So let's say the first objectives is related to historical understanding. So how will you do historical understanding? Are you going to do historical understanding on the basis of secondary data, or you are going to basically do some kind of group discussion? You can talk to the different generation, and you can write oral history. So you have to clearly write each and every research questions and corresponding tools and techniques of data collection. So method is basically the principle which you will be using. So all these 3 should be in coherence. When it comes to theoretical framework, so let's again go back to the classical thinkers, like so when it comes to Emile Durkheim, and he wanted to understand suicide. Okay, so what he did first, he has given an outline of theoretical framework. So basically, he's saying, and when it comes to method, he said that we can simply borrow methods from natural science. Okay, and when it comes to data, you must be aware, because you have done your master. So data are 2 types. One is quantitative, and another is qualitative. So all it will depend what kind of theoretical method framework you are choosing, and it will decide your method, and it will decide your techniques and tools of data collection. So when it comes to suicide, that he has studied using the secondary data. Basically the corners, they were collecting the data, in the sense like the people who are reported as a suicide or done suicide. So they used to verify that is it suicide or not. So he had just collected that data, and he did the analysis. Okay, so here what you see, he said that you have to use social facts, and he has given the definition of social fact, that the 3 features, that is, it should be constraining, it is sui generis in nature, it is generalized, So these three features are basically setting the theoretical framework. So here you are using positivism as a perspective, and then you are using as a concept social facts, the way of method, the techniques and tools of data collection is basically in some sense survey. You can do survey, or you can just do the quantitative data analysis. So all these three will all these three should follow. Okay. So, and this is also important because after the master, we feel that, we can include as many as references, that I think, you can include if you have thoroughly gone through all these, the articles and books. So you can write as many as possible. But I will suggest, include those books and articles which you think is very directed towards your research. So in that case, if you're doing research on class, so the Communist Manifesto or Capital written by Karl Marx can be relevant for your topic. So you can give one reference, and you should also, because you are just giving a research proposal, so you just write as minimum as possible the references and bibliography. So in that case, include one citation from one particular scholar. You can include two also, it's not a big deal, but I will suggest that only include those references and bibliography which you think is directly related to your research proposal. Okay, and you should learn. I don't know. If you are already aware, that's fine. Otherwise, you should check once, like where you are applying. So this is also very important, that if you're applying, let's say, to JNU, or if you're applying to DSC, or if you're applying to Hyderabad University, so you should be aware about the center. Center here means that you have gone through the profile of professors, and that their research area, and that's how you will be able to basically design your research proposal. So while writing a research proposal, it cannot be like in an abstract sense, because the professor should have expertise in that particular area, and that's how they will be able to guide you. So keep this thing in mind, that if you're writing a research proposal and you are intended to join a particular center, go through the center's different faculty, and you identify your interest. I'm not just restricting you that you can write a research proposal which can be completely in a new direction, in a new research area, but it is advisable that you should at least figure out at least two professor with on whom you can rely in the future. Because if you're writing something which is like the center is not interested in conducting that kind of research, then it can be a problem. I'm not saying that you will be not selected, but it's always advisable that you should at least know the different faculties and their expertise, and that's how you should start writing your research proposal. One more important things, that when you're writing a research proposal, you should figure out research area. So research area, if you don't have any clue what is a research area, so if you have done master, you must have done, let's say, 16 to 20 courses. So each and every course basically represent one particular research area. So let's say you are interested in doing research in STS, Science Technology Society. So that can be your research area. And then if you are interested in doing research in STS, you should know that at least one or two people are already working in that particular area. That means the professor is there to guide you in the future. You should not forget this fact. You should always check the center. You should go through their profile. You should go through their published article, and then if possible, you can also include their references. That will give you more extra advantage if you're applying to that particular professor and the professor where he belongs. So keep all these things in mind. So let's come to the practice. So I have included abstract of a dissertation thesis. This dissertation is written by Kaushik Sundar Rajan. So I will try to demonstrate that how each and everything which I have already told you, that there are different headings under the research proposal you can find out in this abstract. So if you read carefully the first line, it is written that this thesis is concerned with tracking and theorizing the co-production of an emergent techno-scientific regime. Okay, so here what you see, there is something called co-production. Let me check. Let me just change my this thing. Sometimes it takes time. So yeah. So you should, I'm just underlining for you. So this is like he's saying that tracking and theorizing, basically the co-production. So these are the important word you should know. So he's saying that what he will be doing. This thesis is concerned with tracking and theorizing. Usually when you're doing research in India, you must be familiar with the debate of theory and empirical study. So usually the emphasis, if you are in a global south, so the emphasis is not given on theorizing, rather the emphasis is given on empirical study. You should go to the you should do ethnography, you should do the participant observation, you should do the village study. So the focus is more on, in some sense you can say, you will be verifying or maybe problematizing a concept by going to field, but you know not necessarily you will be creating concepts and theory. I'm not saying that no, now it might be the possibility you should do it. You should also try to produce theory, but here what you see, this thesis is written in MIT, and it's written by Kaushik Sundarajan. So what you see here, he's saying that the co-production, and I have already told you co-constitution, and in the context of Max Weber. So here what you see, the one system is techno-scientific regime. Okay, so he is giving the explanation what is techno-scientific regime. That is basically that of biotechnology in the context of drug development. And the second one, he's talking about political economic regime. Okay, so he is trying to find out the relationship between techno-scientific regime and political economic regime. Okay, so he's saying that tracking and theorizing, okay, that sees the increased prevalence of such research in corporate locales with corporate agendas and practices. Okay, further what you see, he is trying to produce, or he's going he's reflecting on something called biocapital. Okay, so you must, if you are aware with the science technology studies, or if you are aware with the Foucault, he has given the concept of biocapital, so which asks question of the implication for life science when performed in corporation for capitalism, when biotechnology becomes a key source of market value. So and then what you see, so here what you have, he has directly introduced the main research question and objectives. So you should be also able to tell the reader, or in your research proposal, what is your main research question. So if you read this paragraph, you will have a sense that what will be the research objectives and research questions. He has directly written the methodology, so he is not breaking it under the methodology that what will be the subject matter, what will be the method, what will be the theoretical framework. He's directly writing the methodology. So here what you see, his method is multi-sited ethnography. So you must be aware ethnography, now it's multi-sited ethnography. So it's you can see it's evident, it's explicitly written. That's how you should also write your research proposal. I don't know, till few years back it was written in the prospectus that you should write your research proposal in 500s. So I will advise you that first break in all those headings, And for speaking for your for presenting your research proposal, you might you can write like this, and you can just present, so that the during the viva you can summarize, you can succinctly tell whatever your research proposal is there. Okay, so here what you have seen, he's writing methodology, and then he's saying, I study a range of actors. So in sociology we usually study actors, so you should be also able to figure out what who will be actors, whom you will be studying. So here what you see, he's talking about academic, industrial scientists, entrepreneurs, venture capitalists, and policy makers. So these are the people he will be going there, he will be living with them, he will be observing them. So all these things he has, like it's implicit, uh, it's not explicit, but if you know what is ethnography, you will be able to know what he will be doing. Okay, and why multi-sited ethnography? So he is writing further, in two distinct national environment. That means basically two site will be located, one located in United States, another in India. So that's how he has chosen multi-sited ethnography. So as per your site, accessibility of site, you can also choose a research methodology. Okay, so that's what he's writing. And again he's talking about those two systems, that is emergent technology and emergent political economy. If you read further, I attempt through such a study to theorize biocapital. So basically this is the concept he will be theorizing. Okay, drawing primarily upon Marxian and Foucauldian understanding of life. So here what you see, he's talking about theoretical framework. Okay, so he will be using Marxian and Foucauldian understanding of life, labor, and value. Then you can see, he's also broadly, talking about research area, that is science, technology, studies. So, I have told you that you should figure out one particular uh, course, and that course can be your research area, or you can also include two course, and you can combine, that can be your innovative research area. So you should be able, you should be able to figure out that what will be your research area. So here you see science, technology, and study is a research area that has constantly drawn attention to the constructed. So this is again the theoretical framework, contingent and politically consequent nature of techno-scientific activity. In the process, this thesis intervenes in social theoretical debates. Okay, so this will intervene in social theoretical debates, not simply around the nature and production of knowledge and value, but also around the place of larger belief system. We sociologists are obsessed with the belief system. So and so in a some sense, you see there is a taste of Bavarian way of doing research, because he also uh, tried to uh, find out the relation between religion and economy. So here also what you see, rather than religion, he is basically finding the relation between science and economy. Okay, so that way you can think. So it simultaneously intervenes in the conceptual debate within cultural anthropology. Okay, so this is also another research area he's giving regarding methodological questions that surround the undertaking of comparative ethnographic project. Again, elaborately he's talking about what will be his theoretical framework. Okay, projects of powerful sites of knowledge production and value generation in a globalized world. So you have, I have given you a brief analysis how you can write a research proposal. One more exercise we can do, and that is basically, this thesis is written by Martin Lepe. So here, uh, so I have not included the title, but it's like Biocapital, the Constitution of Life. So I think in when you're applying to DSC or JNU, this kind of title might be not acceptable, You can write, but it. So if you see this title, anticipating autism. So autism, in a some sense, give you reflection to the site. What will be the field? Okay, navigating science, uncertainty, and care in post-genomic era. Okay, so this title, because if you're not familiar with science, technology, studies area, it might be difficult for you. But if you read completely this abstract, you will get some understanding. So let's read the abstract. So if you see the first line, it's written the United States diagnosed cases of autism have increased more than tenfold over the past 4 decades. I have told you how you can introduce a topic. So, C is giving data. Okay, C is giving the context. So C is saying that in the United States, diagnosed cases of autism have increased. This is the fact she is giving more than tenfold. This is like you are in a some sense giving in a time, in a temporal sense that what was there earlier and what is there now. Okay, and she is also talking about over the past 4 decades. Okay, so this is also in a some sense you are giving the changes, social change, you can say. Okay, when it comes to the autism. Okay, because when you say autism, who will be suffering? The human will be suffering. So in a some sense he is talking about groups of individual. Okay, so group of individuals. So then if you read further, this dramatic change has become the source of considerable controversy. So now she is in a some sense hinting you towards research gap. Okay, raising questions about what lies behind these rising numbers. Okay, so the job of sociology is also to basically provide which something which is hidden. Okay, so that's what she's saying. What lies behind this rising number? This can perplex you, and you can start doing research on if you have a number, and if you feel like it's a drastic increase, that can be also a research question. Okay, so you can give the explanation why this fourfold increase happens. Okay, so these debates have spurred new direction in research. Okay, she is giving here what you see, she is hinting towards literature review. What are the studies happening in this area. Okay, so she's saying there is a new direction in research on the causes of autism, including epidemiologic studies. So this is like in some sense he's giving again a area, research area focus on environmental factors and gene environment interaction. This is like if you talk about a new subdiscipline in life science which talks about epigenetics. And epigenetics, in other words, it's also known as gene environment interaction. So she is basically giving you the broader area where she will be in that area she will be designing her research question. So if you see gene and environment interaction, this studies focused on environmental factor. Okay, so this study focus on environmental factor and gene environment interaction. Just wait. So here what you see, this study focus on focused on environmental factors and gene and environment interactions. This dissertation provides a sociological study of the emergence, practices, and consequences of autism, gene environment interaction research. Now, what you see, she is talking about research method. So, that is basically participant observation, how you will be collecting the data. So, participant observation, document analysis, interviews with scientists. You should clearly write from where you will be collecting data. So now she's giving the actor, and those actors are scientists, advocates, and mothers of children diagnosed with autism. So you can see, the clearly outline is given that from where she will be collecting the data. So those will be scientists, advocates, mothers. Okay, so these three set of people, she will be going there, and she will try to do the participant observation, she will also do the document analysis, and she will do the interviews. Okay, I argue that now she is basically giving you the direction, or you can say research questions, the direction of research question. So I argue that autism gene environment interaction research is situated within a larger social scientific process. Okay, so it is situated within a larger social and scientific process, and she call anticipating autism. So again, what you see, she's trying to theorize. She is producing a new concept. So that way, if you feel like if you can produce a new concept, because this abstract is written after the research. So she has already done the research, and that's how she is able to give you a new concept. So not necessarily only reading abstract can help you in writing research proposal. So I will suggest you, like, go through the whole uh, dissertation and go section by section, and then read carefully, and then you will be able to write a research proposal for yourself. Building on a scholarship in medical sociology. So again, here what you see, she is giving you the broader area: medical sociology, science technology studies, social theory. So these are the broader areas she's talking about. This process captures how autism is increasingly being produced as a possible future that should be preemptively considered, acted upon, and engaged in the present. Okay, so these are the broader things you can pinpoint, and you can also include in your research proposal. Now she's talking about result, because when you talk about abstract, it includes your methodology, it includes your result, it includes the introduction, it includes uh, way of data collection. So now she's talking my findings detail how this process is taking place across sites of knowledge production, scientific practice, autism diagnosis, and family life. So these are the different, you can say, uh, sites, where these are her finding is related. In particular, I describe how advocacy efforts, science, and family experiences of autism facilitated new approaches to the study of the condition. Following a prospective epidemiologic study, so this is, again, in some sense, theoretical framework, focused on autism risk factors during fetal development and early childhood, I show how gene environment interaction research is shifting understanding of autism both spatially and temporally. I have already given you that all the research deals with these two axes. One is temporal axis, another is a spatial axis. So your research, you should be also able to situate it in that sense. Just a minute. So moving ahead, she's saying, finally, I describe how for mothers of children diagnosed with autism who are expecting another child, research participation becomes a practice in caring for a specific children. Being a good mother, this is, I think, important. Being a good mother and preparing for the future, these findings reflect changing relationship between science, uncertainty, and care in the post-genomic era. She is giving the findings. This dissertation contributes to the fields of sociology and science technology studies. So you see, she's directly giving you the broader area of research, that is science and technology, and that is basically sociology, science technology study. I hope this video will help you in writing your research proposal. Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you have some suggestion, if you feel like I have missed something, you can help others by writing in the comments. So thank you again for watching whole video. Thanks again.